Okay, hello again. This is a secret second stream for Kendo Gamer. I've decided to restream quickly because it turns out when I did the first stream, this is how much of a noob I am at gaming and all this sort of thing. I didn't set up the audio properly, and it seems that although you could hear me, so could everybody else in the game, and it sounds like I wasn't too popular and they were sort of talking over what I was saying and stuff. So the idea of this is for people that didn't catch the live show earlier, this will obviously be saved. It'll go out on YouTube and everything, so it's for your benefit in that respect, to be honest. And it's a chance really so that I can redo the content so that people can still enjoy it without other people talking over and telling me to shut up because they can hear me talking in the middle of their game. So before we get started, I'm playing on For Honor right now. And essentially the idea of Kendo Gamer, if you're not aware, is so that I can stream video games, because I really like playing video games. I don't get to play them as much as I'd like to, but it's so I can do that and also chat about Kendo. So again, this is a kind of restream really. I'm having another go at it, as the first time around I kind of failed at the stream setup. And and yeah, as I said, if you're watching it live now and you did watch live earlier, you're going to get the same show all over again, but hopefully without other people that are in the game with me complaining that I'm talking over them or talking in their game. So essentially, yeah, the idea is so that I can film this again, so that we've got it really on record for YouTube. So what I'm going to be talking about today is I'm going to be talking all about how to improve at Kendo. That's the idea of what we're chatting about, and it's based off a lot of the things that were talked about in a brilliant interview in English given recently by Masatake Sumi Sensei. And if you haven't seen that yet, you definitely want to go and see it. It's an amazing video. It's out there on YouTube. It's a beautifully filmed video, and it's all in English. And if you're watching this on YouTube, I'll make sure to post a comment. I'll put it in the title. Not in the title. What do you call it? In the the description. That's the word I'm looking for. I'll put it in the description there so that you can go and watch it as well. And what I want to talk about is essentially I'm going to play on arcade mode as well, so that we definitely don't upset other people. No, we won't. We'll go into multiplayer, and hopefully we should all be fine now. The video talks about all sorts of brilliant things, and the first thing that he addresses is what is true Kendo. Now, I don't want to just parrot the video. I really want you to go and watch it, but I just wanted to kind of share my thoughts really about how I interpret what he's talking about. And essentially, the first thing he says about true Kendo is that it's not stick fighting, right? And I know that seems pretty obvious, but you have to take it into consideration that when you're practicing Kendo, the idea is to help yourself improve as a person, improve the human character. Now, which of these characters am I going to play as? And I think I'm going to play as... I really like playing as the Centurion, but I think I'm going to play as this sort of samurai type dude, because that's the nearest sort of Kendo thing, isn't it? So it's not just about hitting the other person's boga before they hit yours, or avoiding being hit so that you can make a hit. Of course, that's important, especially in sort of shiai. But what you really have to do is when you go to practice, when you go to keiko, you have to make sure that you're always concentrating on improving what you're doing. Always think about, for example, you must have been told stuff by your own teachers, right? Oh, you need to improve your left foot or your left hand and that sort of thing. You need to improve all these things. You know, when your teacher says, okay, we're going to do 20 suburi, or we're going to do 5 times menuchi, or we're going to do kirikaishi, you don't just go through the motions and do what you're told. You actually actively try to improve these things. and it's super difficult. It really is. You really have to concentrate on them every time you swing the shinai. And it's not just, okay, 5 times men, right, men, right, done, next one, which is the habit that lots of us fall into. All right, that's the first thing you have to really concentrate on doing, is doing that. Now, one thing that Sensei talks about in that particular video, oh, I'm getting beaten up. I don't like these hammer people. Oh, I hit the wall. One thing Sensei talks about in the video, I think super interesting, is the concept of sen and the Mitsu no sen, or the 3 types of sen. Sen, oh, I got smashed. Sen is the concept of taking the initiative in Kendo. Yeah, taking the initiative. And there's 3 types: sen, sen no sen, and go no sen. And one type of sen that he talks about is actually the attitude you should bring to the dojo itself. Yeah. So not just turning up and doing what you're asked to do, what Sensei's told you to do, but more than that, making sure that you actually dear me. Don't know if I'm going to survive this. Making sure you actually put into practice the things you need to practice. Yeah, that's kind of the idea, you know. You can't just show up and go through the motions. Think about, before practice starts, what am I going to do today? What am I going to work on today? That's one of the reasons that we have mokuso, for example. That's a chance for you to sit and do that. Yeah. So that's the first aspect of sen that Sensei talks about. However, the 3 types of sen that he really goes on to give us insight into is, like I say, sen no sen, sen no sen, and go no sen. And the first sen is the idea of you kind of interact with your opponent, you make your distance, you take the center, and you find or create an opportunity for you to strike, off your own initiative, off your own will, as it were. You do that, and you that can manifest itself in lots of different ways. It can be at the point when the opponent loses concentration, when they draw a breath, when their left foot goes flat on the ground, or it could be in response to perhaps you've made a feint or seme to one particular area, and then attacking a different area. That's also a type of just the kind of the first type of sen, yeah. And that it's actually probably the most important one, I think, that one, especially when it comes to learning how to improve at Kendo. Oh, I'm getting chopped up in this game, aren't I? I'm not very good at it. I have to be clear about that. I'm not very good at this game, as you've obviously already noticed. So it is super important. Now, I'll get to why even more it's important in a minute. But the other types of sen no sen is, sen no sen means like the sen before sen. Yeah. So it means like, for example, they step in, they think they're going to make a chance, but you're already ready and you're prepared for it, and you make the strike sort of at the moment they think they're ready, they've got the opportunity. So that obviously manifests itself most obviously in techniques like debana waza. Yeah. Debana men, dewote, those sort of things. But that's a super advanced technique, super difficult technique. I think most of us would agree that that's a difficult technique to execute as any sort of debana waza, and it's because it requires that kind of sin. I'm just looking at the comments here. Karenzi, OG is making me watch ads. I didn't make you watch ads. That was Twitch. It's Karenzi. Hey Karenzi, how you doing? It's great to hear from you. Where's the camera? There. Great to hear from you. I hope you're doing super well. I actually saw somebody that knows you. They did Kendo with you in your home city, and they moved over to the UK for a bit. and they actually attempted their 6th dan when I did. But anyway, who, I don't know if I should say the name on live TV. I don't know if you can send private. Yeah, that's right. You got it right. Anyway, it's great to hear from you, Kern. So anyway, I do hope you're doing very well. What I'm supposed to be talking about here is how to improve at Kendo, and before I get too drawn into nostalgia. So sen no sen is when you take the sen before they do, and you are able to make the banawaza. Then you have go no sen. Go no sen is it means the sen after sen. Okay, so it means like it means basically they step in, they're gonna think they've got a chance to strike, but you take control and you maybe spoil that strike and make a strike afterwards. All right. Again, Sumi Sensei talks about this in the videos. Now, what's really interesting about the videos that the video that he gives this interview in is he actually says that you should focus on sen, the first one, until you get your 5th dan. Right. Now, I don't think he means that you don't do any other. You don't do the banzawaza. You don't do ojiwaza. You don't do any of that. You just do shikakiwaza until 5th dan. I don't think he means you only do that, but I do think he means that should be the focus of your practice if you really want to improve. And I do really see how that works, and it particularly matters when you're practicing with teachers or sensei. I'm going to change the character here, and I'm going to go off theme a little bit, and I'm going to go with a centurion. Especially when you're practicing with higher grades or seniors or senseis, yeah. When I was living in Kyoto, I had a sensei that was in his late 60s, and he used to go and stand an hour as motodachi, practicing in the Potokuden in Kyoto, and then he'd come to our dojo and stand another hour as motodachi again. And I'd go and practice with him every 3 times a week. And I'd do my best to beat him up, basically. I'd try and hit his boga as much as I could, and as fast as I could. And I used to leave practice after hitting him several times, thinking, yeah, I'm super, super great. Aren't I really good because I just beat up Sensei? And I was totally missing the point because, one, Sensei wasn't trying to compete with me, but I didn't realise that. And two, I was totally not understanding the way in which I could use the opportunity of practicing with such a great sensei to improve myself. You know, like I say, he was in his late 60s, yeah, and I was in my sort of mid 20s. Of course, I was faster than him, and that's all I could. That's all I was actually proving to myself. Oh yeah, so you're faster than him. Big deal, you know, and just helping myself feel nice about making these strikes on a high level sensei like that. When in fact, like I said, he wasn't trying to compete with me in any way. He was doing hikitate geiko, where the teacher is trying to raise the ability of the student. It's just I wasn't using that properly, and I wasn't at all properly taking advantage of the opportunity that Sensei was giving me. What I should have done is concentrate more on taking sen, right? Sen, and then making my strikes. And it was probably 3 months or so into practicing with him that one day I was practicing with him, and in the middle of the keiko he just hit this amazing men on me that kind of just stopped me in my tracks. It just kind of switched off the lights, you know. And I was totally astounded by it. It just hit me at one of those moments that was like I was not in control at all of what was happening, and it really threw me. And I was really disturbed by it all the way home from Keiko, and I really was thinking about it a lot, and I realized that all I've been doing for the last 3 months was just just hitting at Sensei, trying to hit his ball good, and trying to make myself feel good about having, like I say, beat up Sensei in a way. Oh dear me. Oh, okay, alright, I can escape. Oh no, I can't escape that though. What a big sledgehammer to the back of the head. So yeah, I was like thinking to myself afterwards, like all I've been doing was thinking about how I'd been, you know, I'd just been trying to make myself feel good about having beat up Sensei. And I thought, well, you know, obviously I had to reevaluate how I was going to practice with him. And I thought, if, you know, he'd been practicing Kendo for decades, and he perfected this Devanawaza and his men strike. And I decided, right, from now on, I was going to just face him, square on. None of this kind of cheeky, fast kote waza or these feint attacks and stuff like that. I was going to just try and challenge men and just try and throw everything at him, regardless of whether I receive a strike or not. And that's all I did. And it was really tough, it was really demoralizing, because it was 6 months. 6 months I did it for, and I didn't make a single successful strike, not a single one. And eventually, about 6 months in, finally got one, and he kind of was like, whoa, yes, that's it, kind of thing. And I kind of realized at that point that, you know, that was how I should have been practicing all along. And what I'm saying is, I had to face myself, face my own insecurity, my own fear, yeah, my own ego, yeah. I didn't want to. I had to battle against the fear of not making a successful strike on Sensei, the fear of him hitting me before I could hit him. The fear of not feeling good about myself after practice because I hadn't made any successful strikes. And I think I'm going to win this fight. I can't normally beat one of them, never mind two of them. Oh dear, I don't like the way this is looking. Okay, right, I think, you know, I had to kind of face that fear of that, and throw everything away. And that, I think, is what Sumi Sensei means in this video when he talks about, you know, you should focus on Sen at least until 5th Dan. And even the other day, there was a brilliant seminar here in the UK. We had two Hanshi Hachidan from the All Japan Kendo Federation visiting us. Very, very famous senseis, actually, and it's fantastic to have them with us. And I practiced with both of them on separate days. And the first one, again, I just tried to make the shikakewaza, just my own shikakewaza, and overcome my own fear of being hit or being unsuccessful, and tried to attack fully with sutemi. Of course, I wasn't able to. I didn't make any successful strikes, but I think the keiko itself was. I don't know if successful is the correct word. It's not really about that, but I think, you know, I made good use of Sensei's time. And then the second one on the next day, again, it was the same thing. I just focused on shikakewaza, but he was much more, I'm gonna say, inviting, shall we say, and it kind of became a kakarigeko quite quickly. It was very, very tough, but again, it allowed me the chance to not hesitate between my strikes. I didn't have the time to care about whether my strikes would be successful or not. Instead, I just concentrated. Oh, chopped up again. I just concentrated on making spirited strikes with full energy, full sutemi, throw everything, regardless of whether I would be hit, or blocked, of which both happened, and the only successful ones I made were when he gave a clear opening. And I think that's what you really have to take away. You really have to do that if you want to improve at Kendo, all right? You have to really take that mentality into your keiko, especially with your seniors, all right? And when you're practicing with your peers, it's different. That's called gokaku geiko. That's when you're practicing with someone who's a similar level to you, and you can be more competitive then. But it shouldn't all go out the window, yeah? You should, if you watch the top level competitors in Japan, you know, you have to understand that those guys aren't fighting on the basis of reflexes and luck, yeah. There's meaning behind the points that they're making, yeah, and it comes from a place of taking the initiative, and that the points are happening for a reason. All right, and then if you're practicing the junior, of course, you have to become the opposite side of what I was saying, where you don't just beat down on them, of course. You have to provide them with the chance and the opportunity to improve as well. So that's that. I mean, that's that. And then the next thing that Sensei talked about in the video that I really want to kind of hit on as well is the concept of Hyakuren Itoku. Oh dear. This isn't going well. Let's get out of here. Oh no. Hyakuren Jitoku. And that means 100 practices for self-realization or enlightenment in a way. And although it says 100, and Sensei says this, it doesn't mean literally 100. It just means like loads and loads and loads, like a lot. And it means if you practice loads, then you'll start to understand the way. And this kind of is really interesting because I think the point of understanding is when I say, you know, understanding yourself, understanding the way yourself is the key, because it's not Sensei tells you. You have to understand. You have to pick it up. You know, because Kendo is the majority of Kendo is self-learning. It's not directly instructed from a teacher. Of course, the basics, the fundamental movements, and a lot of the concepts, yeah, they come from the teachings of teachers. Of course they do. But you have to take them on board, and you have to put the effort in to understand them and put them into practice yourself. And what it means is Hyakuren Jitoku is like you have to practice loads and loads and loads and loads and loads in order to achieve that. Now, when it says practice, and again, Sensei talks about this in his video, that it doesn't strictly mean. I'm going to go with this spear lady. Just turning up at the dojo and doing loads of kirikaisho ichikomi. Yeah, that's part of it. It definitely is a necessary part of it, but it's not just that, right? It's not just that. There's lots of things that are also practice. Sensei mentions reading. He says historical Kendo books, but there aren't many of those in English. But there's lots of reading material available though in English for Kendo. It's definitely worth reading. Anything from the All Japan Kendo Federation or anything that Alex Bennett Sensei is involved in is definitely worth picking up and looking at. And secondly, Mitori Geiko. Mitori Geiko is the most undervalued aspect of Kendo practice. I really feel passionately about this. Some people practice 7-8 times a week and don't do any Mitori Geiko, and they don't improve, and they don't know why. Mitori Geiko means watching practice. It's where you have to watch and you have to absorb the image of what Kendo is, and then put that into practice when you go to the dojo. If you don't do that, then you can't improve. And it's really easy to do now because we've got wonderful things like YouTube. We've got these great resources, and you have the chance to do it, and you have to watch and you don't just watch the points, and this is what Sensei says in his answer. He says you don't just watch the parts where the person makes the hit or makes the strike. That bit's simple, that bit's easy. You have to watch about what happens before and after. Yeah, I think that's super enlightening. And you know, I do a lot of Mitori Geiko. It's a massive part of my own sort of Kendo practice. And it's one of the reasons that I put out the commentary videos that you might have seen. They've been super popular, thankfully. But where I've sort of picked up Kendo videos and I've kind of made commentary on them. And what I'm doing on that, I'm not kind of passing any judgment on it or anything like that. I'm kind of just taking you through my process of Mitori Geiko. In other words, what it is that I'm looking at when I watch these videos. What kind of what kind of things I'm taking note of when I watch them, so that it can make sense for others as well. So you know, that's the super important aspect, and it's something that in the West we don't do enough of. In Japan, they don't do it either. It's not that they sit and watch a load of YouTube videos. Now, lots of people do, but like when people start Kendo as kids in Japan, what they do is they go to a shiai every week. If they're part of a very kind of serious, focused Kendo club, they'll have a shiai every week, especially during the season. And when they go to a shiai, even if they get knocked out in the first round, for the most part, their sensei will make them stay until the end and watch the shiai until the final, right? And they'll get an idea of what the best players there look like, yeah, and what their kind of Kendo is shaped like. And that's super important. They kind of, you know, even if they're not quite, oh, I knocked two of them off the edge there, nice one. Even if they're not quite you know, understanding everything that's going on, it kind of happens by osmosis with kids, you know, it kind of seeps in. And they kind of build up that mental picture of what they're supposed to be doing, and then they kind of go away and do it. So we have to make up for that, right? And we've got the opportunity, yeah? We've got plenty of opportunity thanks to modern technology and things like YouTube. So you have to care about your Mitori Geiko. You must make sure you are doing plenty of it, because it's super important to your Kendo improvement. Oh, I don't like how this is going. I always get beat up by these dudes with the axe. That's it, stick him, right, that's it. Oh no, oh yeah, that's not going well. So yeah, the concept of Hyakuren Chitoku, it's not just turning up to the dojo loads. As I say, if you're doing Kendo 7-8 times a week, you're not doing any Mitori Geiko, you should cut down the Kendo practice, cut down to 3 or 4 times, and spend the rest of the time, spend those 2 hours at home just doing Mitori Geiko, and you will improve faster. You will absolutely improve faster. You can't just do it, you know, it's a balance, like I say. But you really have to, you really have to include that in your Kendo learning. Otherwise, you know, you're just not going to follow the right path. So and you know, that's essentially what I think is meant by that. All right, and again, the reading thing as well. The reading thing is super cool. There's loads of reading opportunities. There are some great books out there. There's there's online magazines now as well. Of course, there's Kenshi247.net. I mean, that's a great resource that's in English. And George that puts that out, he's extremely knowledgeable on Kendo history. So, you know, you definitely have to check that out if you haven't done already. With that, you know, that's kind of where I am on this. Oh, I got totally battered, didn't I? That's where I am on the sort of Mitori Geiko thing, in case you didn't notice. So, to summarise, alright, before I go, alright, because this is the second time I'm filming this, because I messed it up the first time. The last thing I'm going to say is just to summarize, you know, Kendo's not stick fighting. If you want to improve at Kendo, you have to really turn it around on yourself. All right, it sounds really lofty, it sounds really ideological, but you have to turn it on yourself. You have to try not to let your when you're practicing with people, try not to let your ego take over and devolve into just hitting and not being hit. You have to challenge yourself when you're with sensei, even if you know your strikes might be parried or that you might receive the Dabanawaza. You have to give everything to them with full stemi. Throw everything at them. Uh-oh, this isn't looking good. There we go. Right. Oh, there's two of them now. Yeah, I don't think this is going to end well. Yeah. I don't know if I actually beat anyone. You have to do that, alright? Kendo is mainly a self-learning exercise. You have to take it upon yourself to improve. You have to focus on shikakewaza, the importance of you standing up against those fears to make those attacks, even though you know they might be parried, is super important. You have to put in loads of practice, and that doesn't just mean going to the dojo. You have to devote time to your Mitori Geiko. Yeah, that's another thing that's really going to help you improve. All right. Finally, you know, you have to. I'm getting killed again. I'm getting killed again. Oh dear. You have to just. It's not really. I mean, I'm repeating it again. You have to. I mean, I can't repeat how much Mitori Geiko you have to do. You have to be honest with yourself. All right. So that Mitori Geiko you've done, you put the image in your mind, and you take it with you to the Keiko. Before you start Keiko, you have a goal in mind, and you apply it to your practice every time you swing the shinai. Okay, every time you swing the shinai, you apply that to your practice. Every single time. Oh, he was my guy. I was attacking the wrong team. Proper noob. Yeah, and again, you don't just Sensei says to you today, okay, 5 times man, or now we're doing kirikaishi. You don't just go through the motions and just do it, try and get it finished as soon as you can. Yeah, each time you do it, you concentrate on what you have to improve. You concentrate on what you've seen in Mitori Geiko. If you can, even film your own Keiko and compare it with the Keiko that you're looking at on the internet or whatever. Yeah, and you have to use your brain. Okay, that's basically it. I hope you enjoyed it. I've linked in the description down below, if you're watching this on YouTube, I've linked to the Sumi Sensei interview. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Kendo Gamer. Of course, it is my sort of first time getting back into it. Hence, I did have the sort of hiccups with the technology, and I am filming this for the second time. I decided to bring back Kendo Gamer because, I mean, I really enjoy doing it. It's really great fun. I love playing video games. Who doesn't? I'm not very good at them, as you can see, but it is loads of fun. But it was at a seminar I was at a few weeks ago, and there was a young lad who was in attendance at the seminar who getting battered, who shouted to me. He wasn't quite brave enough to say it to me up front, but he sort of shouted it and ran away. Bring back Kendo Gamer, please. So that's what kind of resulted in us. Resulted in me bringing it back. I do hope you enjoyed it. Leave me a comment down below in the thingies if you're watching this on YouTube, what you'd like me to talk about next time. Tomorrow is Thursday. I'll be filming Kendo Rant, so we've got Kendo Rant coming on Thursday, and I'll do another commentary video on Friday as well. So I've got plenty of things coming. Don't forget to shop at KendoStar, and I'll see you all next time. Thanks a lot for joining me today. All the best.